heading to the City of Angels, the American Football Conference, Los Angeles Chargers, new head coach, Jim Harbaugh. I'm fairly positive whoever typed this spelled Harbaugh incorrectly. New offense, Greg, isn't it? It's AU. You did OU. Nice. Script writer. New offense, Greg Roman, former OC for the Baltimore Ravens from 2019 to 2022. Chargers were 5-12 last year. Projected starting offense. Nobody's taking Justin Herbert's starting quarterback spot. That one's pretty solidified. He's quarterback 15 currently in ADP on Underdog. Running backs, Gus Edwards. Gus Bus comes over from Baltimore, RB38. J.K. Dobbins, the walking wine glass, RB53. And the Week 4 starter, Kamani Vidal, is RB71. Because
the Kamani code.
Yeah, out of Troy. Out of Troy. 6th-round pick, I believe he was. Wide receivers, Ladd McConkey slotting in as the wide receiver 1 currently in ADP at wide receiver 54. Joshua Palmer, wide receiver 61. Quentin Johnston and Stonehands at 66, excuse me. The next coming of Jerry Rice, his son Brendan, wide receiver 98, and DJ Chark, the deep threat that he is, wide receiver 110. Your tight ends, no Stone Smart, but we have Donald Parham as the number 1 tight end being drafted for this team. It's May, guys.
Being drafted is a stretch. He is the tight end 37.
It's
I don't
May,
know what
guys.
it is about. There's like a Parham cult out there. There's like a secret pocket of Parham.
Listen, I love Donald Parham. He's 6'8" in the NFL. Why is he the first tight end
I don't know, dude.
for this team? Hayden Hurst, tight end 40.
That's the guy.
Sure. And somehow Will Dissly is getting $9 million a year contract in the
they
NFL.
paid Will Dissly.
He's blocker. He came out and said that already. He said that Will Dissly says that he works for Gus Edwards. That's what he said. So.
Wow, I'd work for Gus Edwards, so I was getting paid $9 million a year to drop footballs. Oh my God, are you kidding me? Will Dissly, tight end 45.
Like a medical miracle too. Like he's had some crazy injuries that Pete Carroll described one as something he's never heard of. That's the kind of injuries this guy has gone through.
You know, I'm happy for him. You know, go him.
Yeah, Rich.
Go Will. Go Will.
He's rich.
All right, Justin Herbert. It feels like a fall from grace to quarterback 15 currently. Raise your hand in the chat if you have him bolded on this list here, because nobody put their name next to it. Of course it was Ryan.
Ryan put an article out, so I figured it was him.
Why would I even guess? Justin Herbert no longer has the best receiver in the NFL, Keenan Allen. He no longer has Mike Williams for 2.5 games. See, he is left with Ladd McConkey, Josh Palmer, and I'm ending it there. He is really his weapons have been slashed. Yeah. His offensive line didn't get much better. So what is the bright spot with Justin Herbert here, Ryan? Is there a bright spot?
No, I mean, honestly, his ADP is about where I expected it to be with the QB 15, and it's probably where it's going to stay getting closer to the season. The issue is going to be passing volume. And there's 2 sides to the argument. There's what Greg Roman did in Baltimore, but that was with Lamar Jackson. And you just can't expect that he's going to be like, I'm running my exact offense when he gets here. But if you go back pre-Lamar Jackson, and obviously that's a different time in the NFL. We're talking 2017, 2018 with Joe Flacco. While Roman wasn't the offensive coordinator, he was the offensive assistant coach or whatever. They only upped that to about 35 times per game. Well, we're used to seeing Justin Herbert throwing the ball 40 times per game. Justin Herbert has never finished a season with fewer than 595 attempts on a full season where he wasn't hurt. I think we just need to come to grips with reality that we're probably not seeing top 10 Justin Herbert, at least in year 1, because it's not just about Justin Herbert. I love Justin Herbert, and I think he's going to run the ball more this year. It's going to help him. You have a whole new offense and wide receivers that he's not used to throwing to outside of Joshua Palmer. There's going to be a lot of growing pains in this offense in general, and that's another hurdle for Justin Herbert to climb. So I'm actually pleasantly surprised to see him at QB 15. When I originally finished my rankings, he was at 19. I've since become a little bit more optimistic. He moved up to 13. I just don't see him cracking the top 10 this year.
Yeah. I mean, with Herbert, that we're going to learn. This is a player we're going to learn a lot about because we've seen truly great quarterbacks like this guy here throw to whoever, right? Like David Patton and what I'm talking about.
David
And,
Gibbons.
David Gibbons, a lot of weird Davids going on over there, right? But we've seen Patrick Mahomes. I know he's had Kelsey, but there's been some pretty rough wide receiver groups over there. Last year, his top wide receiver was a rookie, and his second best pass catching. I mean, the guy that got the second most targets was a guard that plays wide receiver in Justin Watson, and he had like 63 targets. So like we've seen guys succeed. They won the Super Bowl, so we've seen guys succeed without great pass catchers. We're about to learn whether this guy truly is great or not, but it's the scheme that's the problem. Not to mention, we're looking at underdog ADP. And I will say this, if you're trying to win $1 million in Best Ball Mania, you do got to kind of look ahead to some of the matchups. And that week 17 matchup, the $1 million week, Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman and their, punch you in the face, ground and pound offense are taking the gang up to snowy New England to play a real barn burner for week 17. I'm not sure
Such
if that.
a good point.
I'm not sure
away.
I'm not sure if that's the matchup that's going to win you $1 million right there, because I think that over under for that game could be like 30, depending on the weather. So I don't know, but I will say this: I personally truly believe that Justin Herbert is a good quarterback. There are certain quarterbacks, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, that I just feel the skill set and the ability is there. Whether the scheme and the situation is going to be there from year to year, we don't know. But I believe in the quarterback. If I was an NFL franchise, I would want him to be my starting quarterback. So from that standpoint, you can still be happy. It's just, throwing a DJ Chark and other DJ Chark, which is Quentin Johnston. It's not. Is
that an insult to DJ Chark?
Or an insult to
or is that a compliment to Quentin Johnston?
Yeah,
I can't tell.
I think it's an insult to everybody.
Okay.
You got DJ Chark and you got QJ Chark, and hopefully Ladd McConkey is the next coming of Julian Edelman. But
I think this is the solace that you can take when trying to predict how Justin Herbert can fare this year without Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. In 10 games over his career where he did not have either of them together in a lineup, he was on pace for 673 attempts, 4,604 yards, 27 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions, 353 fantasy points. He can throw it to anybody. Yeah. Like, if we want to point to Greg Roman's, if we want to point to Greg Roman's scheme, he's basically said it himself. Can you imagine Justin Herbert with a running game? He's not there to fuck with the passing game. He's there to fix the running game. So, I don't think he's going to throw the football 40 times, but I don't think 35 is out of the question.
RPO, Justin Herbert, baby, let's go. 35 is a lot. The team that led the league last year threw 37 times a game.
So speaking of the run game,
probably close to 30.
Yeah. So speaking of the run game, Greg Roman did have
39 attempps per game over his career.
That until Greg Roman shows up, dude. The Ravens averaged 29 last year. So as I'm saying, you got to be real careful.
Lamar can't throw, so that's easy.
The thing with Greg Roman is he doesn't really like dumping it down to the running back. That's the big look at Frank Gore's career, and then look at the 4 years that Greg Roman was calling the plays, and it's crazy. He was averaging like 60 receptions a year, and then it dropped to 15 for those 4 years.
So Greg Roman had J.K. Dobbins for like 7 snaps in like one season. And Raise the Roof, who put J.K. Dobbins here again because they didn't put the names. Beautiful. I love that. I love that audio.
I was putting the names in there, but no one else had the names, so I actually took the name out. I was like, "This is how they do it."
Coop, you would have been the A student of the class. Okay, you would have been the A student of the class.
I took it out. I was like, "Nobody's." Well, you know what happened is I got tricked. It's like when you're in school and it's like not cool to be smart. All the cool kids were not putting it there, so I was just kind of like, "Hi."
If you think these two jamokes are the cool kids in school,
I had to sandbag my grades on this test because I just wanted to be like the other guys.
I think that legal weed in Massachusetts might be getting to you a little bit if you think these two are the cool kids in school.
I think you guys are cool, man.
That's great. I haven't known a cool kid to have a gray black beard.
Strong beard, dude.
Jack Black, you bastard.
Black doesn't get any cooler.
I don't know if Jack Black was the cool kid in high school. I think he was the class clown in high school.
We'll
He's
take
cool
it,
now.
We'll
He's
take
cool
it,
now. He's cool now. Sure. Yeah. He's awesome now.
I didn't have a gray black beard when I was in high school, you dickhead.
I mean,
Listen, I don't know. We don't
I don't
know.
know what's, you're messing the timeline up.
I'm not messing anything up. You keep talking.
Timestamp that.
J.K. Dobbins. You might want to update the timestamp on him, Josh. J.K. Dobbins, RB53. Coop, I imagine you like him at RB53 because despite maybe any amount of burst he ever had being gone, there's still some skill left in there, and he's, again, pretty much free at this point at RB53.
Yeah, and there's not, I mean, again, yeah, 53 is not, imagine if I picked RB53 to bash him, to be like, yeah. It's not worth that.
Fuck him up, Coop, get him. Get him.
He's RB53 and
get his
too
ass.
High. We got to move him down. No, I think that, and again, perhaps the biggest if, just imagine the biggest if you could picture, right? If J.K. Dobbins is healthy, right? Yeah,
okay.
There
I'm imagining it.
You've got
gone.
a team.
It's gone. You waited too long.
You've got a team. If J.K. Dobbins is healthy, you've got a team here who is intimately familiar with him and his health, right? Like, this isn't like some other team saying, oh, okay, we don't know anything about this guy, but we know that a couple of years ago he had a really good breakaway run rate, and we're just going to bring him in and kick the tires. This is the guy that coached him previously. They obviously have access to the medicals. They know what's going on with him. They brought him in, right? They brought him in, and then they didn't go crazy adding other players. It's Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins and Kamani Vidal, right? So for me, if he gets back to healthy and the Achilles tendon surgeries and stuff, they've gotten better throughout the years. If he comes back, I mean, right now, 2 teams are going to go into the season with quarterbacks coming off Achilles surgery. You know what I mean? That's the most important position out there. So J.K. Dobbins, if he comes back and he's anything like his former self, it's perfect for this format that the ADP is based on, which is best ball. This guy can break off big runs. He was, showed flashes last year before he got hurt again. So if he comes in behind, and again, he doesn't need to be incredible if the scheme works the way that they want it to. They brought in the fullback, Ben Mason. They're trying to tear your face off. They drafted Joe Alt at 6 overall. They've been the previous GM, now GM for the Raiders. He spent a bunch of picks on offensive line the past few years. So this team is loaded up on the O-line, and they want to run the ball. If he's the starting back for this team at RB53, that's going to be a value. Blake Corum scored 58 touchdowns for Jim Harbaugh when he was at Michigan.
Kamani Vidal is going to have those 58 touchdowns.
I love the idea. I just want to throw out there for Kamani Vidal and a bunch of these guys. Like, you go through, Jim Harbaugh just came over from college where he was deep in the recruiting process. So in your dynasty leagues, if the people that do like the 6, 7, 8 round dynasty drafts, start looking at the undrafted free agents that this team brought in. Like the 10 guys named Johnson they brought in. Jalen Johnson and Cornelius Johnson and another one.
Quentin Johnston.
Jalen Johnson, Quentin Johnson. They got all sorts of Johnsons. I'm telling you, like, they got a guy named Corn Johnson. If you have one of those crazy leagues with like 40 roster spots and everyone's throwing whoever at the end of their bench, you got to throw Corn Johnson. But honestly, Leon Johnson at Oklahoma State's the one I like a little better. But
There's too many Johnsons. I'm lost.
If anyone is going to be to have intricate knowledge of these late round picks and undrafted free agents, it's going to be the guy that just came from that atmosphere. So
it's a good point.
End of rant. I do like Kamani Vidal. I do like J.K. Dobbins. I'm not really drafting Gus Edwards.
My biggest concern with Dobbins, and again, I do want to see where Achilles surgery has ended up.
You have a bigger concern than the Achilles?
Well, no, it's the Achilles, but it's the running back position is my concern with the Achilles, because most of the guys we've seen, and really the only one we've seen truly come back from it is Deontay Foreman, and it took him 3 years to look remotely like himself. Marlon Mack, it was a career ender. Now, Jonathan Taylor had a lot to do with that, but it was a career ender basically. And we still haven't really seen Cam Akers make it. It's now that was static with the Rams and everything else that's going on there. So he could be the next tail. It's year 1 of J.K. Dobbins for me. Now, again, what do you have to lose at his price if he hits? which is exactly how Andrew ended his article today, Andrew Elmquist with us, and how Andrew Cooper was talking about if he hits, you paid nothing, and it worked out real well. But Achilles injuries and running backs for me, not happening.
Yeah. I mean, just, the thing is the sample size isn't huge. And I'll tell you, there's a pretty big sample size of basketball players that have come back. And you look at like Kevin Durant, like if Kevin Durant can come back to play basketball, then there's then you can play football. That's my thought process on it. But you're right. The sample size is not big and it's also not good.
From the running back to the receiver position, one of the few, pretty much the only returner that could catch footballs from Justin Herbert, because Quentin Johnston dropped all of them, Josh Palmer. I'm shocked it was Josh that highlighted this guy, because I know in my heart of hearts he's going to talk shit about him, but how can you talk shit about a guy wide receiver 61?
Nope, I'm not talking shit about him. I'm praising him. He should be going
Good.
way ahead of Ladd McConkey.
Good.
Way
well,
ahead of
let's
Ladd
pump the
McConkey.
brakes there, but I agree.
No, McConkey's best season was 762 receiving yards.
You're a McConkey hater. Go away.
No, it's not even that I'm a hater. I just think he's overpriced. I have a couple shares of him in dynasty leagues. I have zero issue with him. I just don't he's just not big enough, in my opinion, to be what Devonta Smith is, which is the outlier of a skinny guy at wide receiver on the outside. I just don't see it. But I'm willing to bet on it from a patience perspective. But this year, with the familiarity of Herbert and a new system, give me all the Josh Palmer. He's played 11 games over the last 3 seasons without Allen and or Mike Williams. He's been on pace for 130 targets and 83 receptions. That has the earmark of a wide receiver 1. We've seen wide receivers, tight ends in a Greg Roman system top 130 targets. It is very much in the realm of possibility that Josh Palmer can be a top 24 wide receiver, even with a lower passing volume. I don't think there's going to be a ton of touchdowns for him. He's never top 5. But again, looking at the increased target share, that then increases the likelihood that touchdowns can find him. And as the one reliable option with familiarity with his existing quarterback, give me that at wide receiver 61 prices all day.
I didn't have Josh talking positively about Josh Palmer on my 2024.
Us Josh has got to stick together.
But you've said nothing but just bad things about him the last few. You have not liked Josh Palmer. Every time I bring him up, you're like,
he doesn't.
Oh, he's the third receiver in a bad offense.
We don't hate players. We don't hate, except for
I
maybe
hate
that
players.
Chiefs. Maybe that Chiefs guy that just left his dogs in the thing.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
How about
guy? That guy we don't like, but we hate ADPs, right? So you just said, maybe if you don't love the player, wide receiver 61 though, you got to take a couple.
Yeah, that's 10th round in underdog. I'll be beginning of the 11th round. Really, basically, he's 124. It's looking like right now. Josh Palmer will be on every damn one of my best ball teams.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, you could even reach for him 2 rounds before that, and I don't think anybody would shame you for it, in all honesty. I mean, again, without those 2, he's averaging 5 catches for 60 yards. You tack on a touchdown here and there, that's an easy wide receiver 2 in fantasy football.
We can tell that Toronto Dave isn't in the chat anymore because we didn't get a shout out to the Toronto area just now for Josh Palmer. Shout out to the gang.
Is he from Mississauga?
Oh wait, no, he's not a Toronto guy. He's a Nebraska guy.
You know what? Honestly, they're pretty much the same. Toronto and Nebraska. When you think about it,
they're about the same. Sorry, that's my fault. We didn't get a Josh Palmer corn cob. No, that's Trey Palmer from Nebraska. Josh Palmer is from Toronto.
He's all over. When
I'm trying to figure it out on the fly.
When I think Toronto, Canada, I think Omaha, Nebraska. That's the first thing I think of for its. I think it's
Josh
American.
Palmer.
Josh Palmer is from Trey Palmer is from Nebraska.
Yeah, Toronto and Canada.
Canada.
Yeah.
Well, go Josh. I'm sure he grew up an Argonauts fan. Go him.
I don't mind the pick at all.
Go Argos.
Especially, to your point, this team wants to be physical, right? That could cost Ladd McConkey some snaps early on, especially in his career, if these other guys are just bigger and stronger. We see it all the time. But Rondale Moore, it's the reason Rondale Moore comes out of the game is that he can't block. I've watched him get penalties just trying to hold on to guys, and that's why he comes out. So we'll have to see. But I don't know. I can do it. This team sucks.
This team does suck, but Justin Herbert is 2 of the 3 favorites for best bets of the season that we have. Ryan, I presume you have Justin Herbert over 3,575.5 passing yards.
Yeah, I was looking at all the passing yard totals. They just seemed really soft to me. And even if you hate Justin Herbert, 3,500 yards, 3,600 yards doesn't seem like that tall of a task.
Doesn't seem out of the realm. Coop, I imagine you put last undefeated team at plus 2,000, so you believe the Chargers will outlast every team in the NFL to be the last standing undefeated team.
I really don't like your tone when you're talking about my bet like that.
Well, you know what I immediately thought of? Remember when the Pittsburgh Steelers went 11-0 and then lost 5 of their last 6 and then lost in the first round of the playoffs? That could be this year's Chargers.
Because they weren't that
because
great.
they sucked.
They just had a good matchup.
Yeah.
So the Chargers, okay, let's go through it, right? So Chargers week 1, they get the Raiders at home. Gardner Minshew.
They don't have any home games. Let's get this straight. They don't have any home games.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so Vegas doesn't either. Vegas doesn't have any home games either.
Yeah.
I mean, it's whatever.
But
team
there's
they're
more
playing.
Raiders fans in LA than there are Chargers fans.
Raiders. That's a potential win. Next game is the Panthers.
Okay, that's a win.
Okay, then it's Justin Herbert going up against Russell Wilson and the Steelers. Okay,
Is it in Pittsburgh or is it in LA?
it's in
Doesn't
LA.
matter.
It's in LA.
It does
Doesn't
because
matter.
playing in Pittsburgh is worse than playing in LA.
No, it's at Pittsburgh. Okay, so that was at Pittsburgh. Moving on. This is the one where we got to hedge our bets, right? Okay, division game, Kansas City. We bet a little bit on Kansas City.
Is it in Kansas City?
It doesn't matter. That's what.
No, if it's in Kansas City, the Chargers
City.
play well in Kansas City. That's why I ask.
So it just so happens to not be in Kansas City.
Okay, then that's an L. We're
That's
1-3 right now, Coop. We're not looking
No.
really good for last undefeated
so
team.
undefeated right now through 4. Next game, bye week. Can't lose. Can't lose any bye week. So that's a win. Argue with me on that one, Joe.
I can't. I mean, that's a good argument. We're 1-3 going into the bye week.
No.
In my
You're
fantasy
undefeated.
land.
You're undefeated through 4 weeks. Bye week, super recharge period. Super early. You want to get that early bye week.
I know we're over, but this is great.
You want to have the very first bye week to recharge, right? So then you go and play Denver, where you can win. You play Arizona, where you can win. You play the Saints, where you can win. All right? Then you probably lose to Cleveland. But at that point, all these other teams are playing each other. It's like the Ravens.
Not the worst.
The Ravens
Other than the Kansas City matchup, it's not the worst theory.
And what you do is you bet. If you make it that far undefeated, you bet on Kansas City. And then you get the free week after that with the bye. You just got to get to the bye.
I like the only thing I like in this whole thing is the week 5 is a free week. That's the only thing I like in this whole thing is that is a free week. Because I'm 1-3 going into the bye week. But if you're right and they last to week 5 undefeated, yeah. I mean, the week 5 bye week is smart.
You guys are forgetting the Chargers' luck. That's the whole issue with this entire.
Was that the Chargers or was it Brandon Staley?
It happened long before Brandon Staley got there.
You make your own luck. That's what I always say.
Yes. And Josh has Justin Herbert, 22.5 passing touchdowns. It's even money on the over.
Yeah, it's such an easy one. Like I said, he averages 27, or he's on pace for 27 touchdowns without Allen and Mike Williams. And even with all those guys, 32 touchdowns a game.
They're going to need those touchdowns.
All he's got to do is 23 in a season. Are you kidding me? That's easy money.
Ryan, you're going to need those touchdowns if we're going to start 8-0. I mean, dude, this schedule is actually very easy now that I look at it. Dude. Like this team.
All right, we're all betting last undefeated team now at plus 2,000.
I might look into it.
It should be more. The fact that they know something. It should be like plus 5,000. It's practically the chalk.
Where all our money should be.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the Giants.
I was waiting for a pause so I could, and you guys kept talking.
Just shut it down, dude. Just shut it down.